Hey, HTDA, and today we're going down into the craters. But before we do that, I got recommended by quite a few of you to put the difficulty on Unpredictable Wave AI, which apparently makes the units attack pretty much wherever they want, which I have to admit is kind of worrisome to me, but let's find out if that makes it a little bit more challenging, because so far, um, honestly, the entire game so far, as long as you know what you're doing, seems to be a little bit on the easy side. So let's see if this makes things a lot more difficult. Let's launch. Let's see if we have all the stuff that we need. I do think we can just max everything out. There we go. And let's dive in. So let's check out what we have to work with. We have plenty of copper over here. We have some scrap, a little bit of coal, not that much, and some lead over here. Is this anything? No, it is not. We do have some more copper over here with some duos, which is not going to defend much, but at least it's a good start. We also have a very nice bottleneck over here, so we can easily build up some defense here and then, well, basically expand our way from that. Seem to be some derelict structures over here, and this is dark sand. I'm guessing that's the new resource I'm going to get in this level. Now, this particular zone has water as well. I'm not sure if we can use that, but let's find out. And then it seems we have 3 choke points over here that we need to defend. Or we can just figure out where they're coming from and then make a choke point over here, maybe? Not entirely sure if that's going to work, but first things first, let's set up a basic base. Now, we only have 3 minutes until the first enemies arrive, so I'm going to focus on setting up some copper, and then I'm just going to set up a lot of duos in order to make sure I can defend myself. Now, let me remind myself, do I actually need lead for that? No, I don't, so I can do everything with just copper to get some basic defense going. Okay, so I have my defenses set up, and I should probably make sure I'm actually using all my resources, but yeah, honestly, it feels like this is probably not the way to do this. Let me pause there for a moment. I know the enemy is coming from this direction. I just scouted with my flying unit while I was just exploring the map because I wanted to make sure I knew where they're coming from. So they're coming from over here. So I'm really wondering if there is a reason why I should not just set up a whole line of turrets over here and then just have the entire map for myself. But I don't know. Let's just stick with this for the moment. Okay, there we go. This should take care of all the basic resources we have in this area. We're going to have some lead coming in. We're going to have some coal production, which is going to turn into graphite. And then I still don't really know what I'm going to use scrap for, but I have a feeling we're going to find out very soon. And at least I have plenty of that coming in as well. Now, the real question is, what next? Yeah, so I've been thinking about this for a minute, but I think I fell into the trap of thinking about this game as a real-time strategy rather than more like a turret defense game, because I kind of don't just lock myself in the corner of the map. If I start expanding here, that is going to be very easy to be attacked by the enemy, of course. And I do need to expand in this area because that's where all the other resources are. So instead, what I should have done, I'm pretty sure at least, is just build my defenses over here and then basically have the entire map for myself. So what I'm going to do is still do that anyway. Not entirely sure that's a good idea, considering I just spent 1,500 of my resources building all of this, but if I can make it work, then I have all my resources coming in while also getting the benefit of locking the enemy in the corner of the map. Okay, so how about something like this? This is going to supply some copper and some lead, actually. Or coal, I mean. And we have a couple of scorches here to make use of that coal. And we have a lot of the normal duo turrets to make sure we have some basic anti-air and anti-ground defenses. We have some basic walls and all of that for the exact amount of copper that we currently have. So all in all, this should do the trick, I hope. And if not, well, we have the other line of defense to fall back to. Okay, so here is the first wave. It's one of those explodey bots, and there we go, it is down, and we have 1.5 minutes to make this look like an actual defense. Okay, so here we go. I set up some more turrets, some more scorches, but I'm running really low on the resources now, which of course is because I spent most of that to build the other defenses that I'm not using at all. I do think leaving open a little gap over here is probably smart, so that everything will run right past all of these scorches lined up to take stuff out. And all of these defenses make no more sense anymore now, so I'm going to just take them out and make sure I have this area open so I can bring in more resources to my home base. Speaking of which, yeah, this is not doing much, is it? So let's make sure, I think I can click on this, yep, to make sure that I'm actually getting those scrap materials in my base as well. And I don't really need to delete these, of course, because I can just funnel these right back into my base if I am a little bit smarter than what I'm currently showing you. But yeah, I'm just showing you all the mistakes I'm making in this early playthrough of this campaign as well. Because, well, you might be playing this for the first time yourself as well, and it might be useful for you to see what I'm doing wrong, so you don't have to. These energy waves seem really to like these explodey dudes, and they are still going to go down really easy and really quickly, as you can see. So, I am now stocking up quite some copper. I have no problem defending myself so far, so it's time to really start gearing things up a bit. Okay, so how about this? We can set up some power production. If we set up a combustion generator over here, actually over there, we put a overflow, where is it? Overflow gate here. So that means that if these turrets are all filled up on coal, then the remaining will go to this power production over here. And I think we have about, yeah, we have about a little bit more than a half per second coal production over here. So one generator is probably going to be fine. Then I've been told that these things conduct power by themselves, so these should be able to store up some power, and then we can place a power pole right next to that. And then last but not least, where is it? Let's set up a couple of menders like this, so that we are making sure we are actually repairing our stuff. And what do I need for those arc turrets? Just lead and copper, which I have. So, you know, we might as well set some of those up here as well. They're all going to go in this direction if my plan is working as intended. And that means we have plenty of defense here for the foreseeable future, I hope. And then we can start making sure we get some more resources going. Okay, so let's see, we have twice the copper production now, as well as a little bit more silicon and a little bit more silicon here overall, just to make sure I'm using all of this coal. And that should give me plenty of resources to work with. Now, we do have this dark sand over here, and if I remember correctly, let me see, if I go to the silicon smelter, we need coal and sand in order to make silicon, which is something we haven't produced yet at all. And we have plenty of sand here. We also have not that much coal, actually. We have some coal over here, some coal over here. Yeah, we have traces of that like all over the place. But I think we should dedicate this to producing some silicon. Okay, bear with me with the math for a moment. I did the math on all of these random patches of coal here, 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 and here. And that should be about 4.5 coal per second. It's probably a little bit more, but I don't want to get too much into detail because the belt can only carry 4.2 items per second. Which actually is a really annoying number because it doesn't math out well with what I want to do. Because I want to have 3 silicon smelters making silicon, but that means that these are going to put out 4.5 per minute. So I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to increase my belt speed at some point, or I don't really want to have a secondary belt with a tiny amount of silicon right next to that. I also need a metric ton of sand. I need 9 sand per minute in order to fuel all of this. So that means that that's basically 2 belts full, but because I have 3, I need 3 per second to go in here, then another 3 per second in here, but because a lot of the sand has already been taken off the belt, I need to make sure there's a second belt basically coming in of sand over here like that. So this will take a moment to balance out, but because I'm producing slightly more than I can actually use, that should work just fine. If I want to make sure, I could actually do it something like this, so it flows in here as well. That should help it stabilize a little bit quicker, I think. Meanwhile, how are we doing on the waves? We get 4 units per wave now, but these are the weaker ones. So yeah, these are still getting blown to pieces really easily. And I should now have some silicon in production. Why are you not doing anything? Oh, because apparently you need power. Okay, so I completely missed that, but we need 30 power per second for each of these smelters. So that's 90 power in total. I don't think that's too much of a problem because I was intentionally saving this patch over here to generate some more power. Well, I'm gonna need to build quite a bit of a power line, as you can see, but it's kind of satisfying to see all of this coming up. And I do have enough coal here to fuel at least a couple of these generators. There's 2 batteries in between, so it's not actually 6 generators. I'm not going to have quite as much coal as that, but it should get me enough power, I think. Now, I actually forgot. Each of these is outputting 60? Oh, yeah, that's plenty. So if I can fuel at least 3 of these, I think it's about 3 in terms of resources that we're getting over here. That's 180 power, so that is about twice as much as we need for our silicon smelting, so we have a little bit to spare for our turrets over here. And there we go, we have a pretty steady amount of silicon coming in. Now the real question is, what else do we do in this level other than defeat 13 more waves? Probably build up some more defenses, because as you can see, these waves are getting quite a bit stronger than they were before. And since we now are producing quite a bit of silicon, we might as well build some duos in order to fuel them with that. Because as you can see, copper does only 9 damage, but silicon actually does 12 and has a plus 50% fire rate. So basically we are doing twice as much damage as copper still. The same as graphite. We don't actually get the additional tile range, but we do get a homing effect on our silicon. So I guess that means it's a guaranteed hit, or at least close to that. So it should be fun to try that out. There we go. Initially there was some copper coming on this belt, but I now solved that, I hope, by building in some bridges. And there we go. We should no longer have any copper on this belt. It takes quite a bit of time for the silicon to actually reach the turrets. Well, let's see if it will be here in time to actually shoot at some enemies, because we have plenty of those. I think the answer is going to be no, because as you can see, the enemy will die way before that. Luckily, there's always the next wave, and this time around I also added in some scatters, just because I could, because I have all those scrap materials over here and some lead as well, and they use both of those ammunitions. Now, the nice thing actually about these scatters is that lead is just pretty straightforward, does some area damage as well apparently, but if you put in scrap, it actually does the area damage, at least this is how I'm reading this, across a larger amount of terrain. So it has a bit bigger boom, basically. It shoots slower than that. So I'm not entirely sure if this is actually an upgrade, but you know, I have it, it's free, so I might as well use it. Other than that, there doesn't seem to be much to do in this level. I can't build anything else. I do have a research tree to explore, I guess, so maybe there's something hiding in there. I'm wondering a little bit what these things are. I can't actually target them, so unlike the dark sand that tells me it's actually a resource, I don't know what these are. So maybe there's something hiding in the technology tree, and I shouldn't be too early to complain. In the meanwhile, let's see if these waves, there they are, still getting bigger. I added in some more menders over here, but yeah, this is definitely not a problem at all to defend against. So let's finally take a closer look at the technology tree, because honestly I was just focused on defending myself. We have the core foundation over here, which requires a massive amount of silicon, which is one of the problems I have with this game. Some of this stuff is so expensive to research, and if you're at the end of the level, you might just as well just sit here and farm, I guess. I don't know. The ground factory is something we can also unlock. That's really interesting. Again, needs a lot of silicon. We have the drill, which I can already unlock. Mines at a faster pace than a mechanical drill, and it can also mine titanium. Maybe I should have unlocked it before. It doesn't actually require power or anything like that. Yeah, this is actually quite a bit faster, so we can upgrade our facilities with that. We just need some graphite to actually build these things, so they are a lot more expensive. We also have the kiln, which is going to smelt sand and lead into metaglass. And we can apparently also crush scrap into fine sand, which is useful. Oh, there's a lot of things here. The incinerator vaporizes any item or liquid it receives, so we can just blank things with this, apparently. We can also melt down scrap into slag. Oh, there is so much stuff here. The microprocessor runs a sequence of logic instructions in a loop, can be used to control units and buildings. Okay, so we can start programming stuff. That's interesting. I just unlocked the illuminator, which emits light. I'm not sure why I unlocked that, but still. We also have a solar panel, most importantly, because that was the first thing I saw, and that's the first thing I also want to build. This provides a small amount of power from the sun, so I assume this is free. We need lead and silicon to build it, but yeah, it's just going to produce free power. That's awesome. We also have a large solar panel, which is just a bigger version of what we already have. We need face fabric for that. That's one of the endgame items from Eric here. But yeah, that's something we don't have. Oh boy, that was a lot of stuff that we just unlocked and can still unlock. So let's dive into that while we keep defeating some more waves. So let me set up maybe a little bit of a solar farm over here. These things are actually pretty cheap, just 10 lead and a little bit of silicon. I mean, they're not producing a lot of power. Let's be honest. This is 7 power. It also seems to fluctuate a little bit. Do we have a day-night cycle that I'm not aware of? Not entirely sure how much this is producing. Yeah, it just went down further. Why is it going down, guys? Am I missing something? Yeah, there might be a day-night cycle to be aware of. But anyway, it's free power, so we have empty spaces in our base. We might as well fill it with some solar panels, and they might not be producing non-stop, but still, we can store that up in batteries, so that's not really a problem. I already built quite a bit of batteries, as you can see over here, so we can fill those up even quicker than we did before. Anyway, what else did we unlock? Alright, the kiln that is going to combine lead and sand into metaglass. I have no idea what I want to do with that, other than the fact that I do know, I think it was the scatter that uses this. Yes, the metaglass is ammo for the scatter, but other than that, maybe we can also unlock more stuff even. So, let's build a couple of kilns. We have the sand, we have some lead over here in the corner, so we should be able to do that just fine. Okie dokie, there we go. We have some lead incoming, we have some sand incoming from over here, and that should be enough to make sure these things keep operational most of the time, assuming I, of course, connect my belt properly. There we go. We have plenty of meta glass actually incoming. I didn't check the production rate, but it's 4 per second. It's almost a complete belt, which means that this is not going to work. Oh, then this is completely messed up anyway, so let me go and fix that. Okay, there we go. I removed a little bit of the coal production because honestly I don't really need this silicon, and I do need to make sure all my resources can reach my main base. So that's an entire belt full of a new resource, or actually 2 new resources in this level, so it's a little bit more exciting than I thought. I've been completely ignoring my defense, by the way, and we've been getting waves of 10 plus enemies. This is 19. Oh, we're going to get a Guardian as well. Luckily I built some anti-air defense, but as you can see, yeah, everything is just getting shredded to pieces, even though these are the biggest waves we've seen so far. Yeah, let's take another look at the technology tree. It looks like we have a new type of turret, the Wave, which is going to fire streams of liquid at enemies. Let's see, we can actually put just water in it, okay. It's pretty much going to, I guess, debuff enemies. What does melting do? Heat multiplier, speed multiplier, damage per second as well. That's interesting. So we can basically use the, what is it, incinerator, I think. No, this was melter. That's the one I was looking for. Yeah. So this can turn scrap into slag, 12 per second. That's quite a lot actually. And then we can use that. Oops, I actually just clicked it. Now I spent all my resources on that. This was not what I wanted to do. But anyway, we can use that slag to then fuel a wave, which is going to throw burning slag at our enemies. That's actually kind of cool. Not entirely sure how I'm going to transport liquids, but that's probably something I'm going to unlock as soon as I actually do some incinerating. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I have some scrap over here that I'm not really using because I don't need that much ammo for my scatters. So I might as well just build a melter over here with an overflow gate. Now the problem is I can't actually export this because it doesn't go on a belt, it goes into a pipeline, but I have no access to pipelines at the moment. I think I double checked the technology tree. But yeah, there does not seem to be any pipelines in here just yet. Probably going to unlock that pretty soon, but it might be hidden behind some of these other things. I don't know, but I'm just gonna have to wait because I can still, I hope, use my waves regardless by just putting them right next to this smelter over here. While I'm waiting for stuff to be produced and resourced and things like that, I'm just going to upgrade all of my mining drills to the upgraded tier. Now you can see most of these lines are actually completely at a standstill because I'm not using any of that, which is a little bit of a waste, but there's not really a downside to upgrading this, I believe. I can't think of any reason that would be a downside anyway. But I'm really going to need some faster belts at some point because the belt speed is definitely limiting the amount of stuff that I can get to my base. Because this bottleneck is actually being exactly that. It is a bottleneck. I can only fit about 3 belts in this side and 2 belts on this side. Well, maybe 3 actually. But still, it's really limiting and kind of annoying, honestly, just to get my resources to my main base. As the waves has been building up to about 30 units actually per wave, and the next one is going to be the boss, I did a bit less complaining and a bit more optimizing. As you can see, I upgraded almost all of my drills to the upgraded tier. It seems I forgot a couple of them over here. But most importantly, what I've done is set up a few more kilns, so I'm producing some more metal glass over here. And all of that is now flowing into this direction. Something is not quite right here. There we go. This should not be here. This should be there. So I am gaining way more resources into my main base than before. I worked around the bottlenecks, and now we're going to see if I can actually defend myself against the Guardian unit. Copper and lead is not effective. Well, it would have been nice to already know that. Use higher tier turrets. And there we go. That was not difficult at all. We had plenty of air defense. Would have been nice to know it was an air unit. But all in all, no problem whatsoever. And we have a pretty decent amount of production over here now, actually. Look at that. We have pretty much 2 full belts of metaglass coming in, a full belt of silicon almost, and then some spare resources from all the other kinds that we already had unlocked before. Did I actually end up using my slag powered turrets? Nope. I actually don't think I was able to unlock it in time. I could unlock it now, but I actually want to see if this gets powered by the melter if I just put it right next to it. It does. So I could have had another wave attacking my enemies even, but didn't turn out to be needed. So with the main unit down, I was actually expecting just to go to the next level, but then I took another look at the technology tree and just new things kept on coming. So first of all, I found the liquid routers and junctions and conduits and stuff like that, so I can now actually go and transport my water. It required the mechanical pump to be unlocked. I completely missed that. It's not really vital or anything like that, but we can use this to pump up water and probably other liquids later on as well. I also unlocked the ground factory, which is very awesome because that means we can now start producing our own units. But more importantly, I unlocked the air factory. Now, this is again going to allow us to build the same air units we've been attacked by. But once I get a little bit more silicon going, I will be able to build the mono. And if I understand this correctly, this is kind of like an automated miner. It's just going to fly around, at least I assume it's a flying unit, yes. And it's going to mine copper and lead and then deposit it into our core. That means I no longer need to do pretty much what I've been doing over here and funnel a lot of those basic resources in my main base. But instead, what I can do is make sure that I save those belts for the more higher tier type of items, and I can get the basic items delivered by my units. Now, would you look at that? It's a little late, but we now have some basic daggers, crawlers, and flares in production, and that means I could go harass the enemy if there were any left in this map with my own units. So that's kind of cool. And in the meanwhile, I've been gathering up some silicon as well, so maybe now I can start building some of those monos. Okay, I'm really excited. We just produced our first mono, and yeah, it's just flying off and starts mining automatically. Can I let it know what it should be mining? Can I control this at all? Yeah, I can control it. However, can I tell it to mine something else? No, I can tell. Oh, yeah, actually, I can. I can tell it to mine copper, or sand, or scrap. Actually, oh, that's more than I thought. It just mentioned the copper and the lead initially, so I can actually have these mine whatever I want them to mine, which is quite awesome actually. So I'm way overstocked on copper anyway, but making sure that these things are mining lead is pretty sweet. It's probably not going to go at a very high speed though. While I'm saying that, I actually don't know that. Can I tell? How much are you carrying? Can I see this? I mean, it seems to be mining fairly quick, and as long as you're mining, I guess, fairly close by your core, then that should work just fine. I'm really excited about that. Speaking about mining, I actually built some pumps. Look at that. And they are now supplying some of these coal generators with water, which means they're now producing way more than they did before. Because remember, these, I think it's like 2 or 3 times as fast, on top of the additional speed that we're already getting from the tier 2 drills. So yeah, this is now quite a bit, and you can see I'm actually powering a lot of combustion generators, mostly because I can. Should probably be making some graphite out of that, but yeah, I actually have a few more things I want to explore. So this is what I thought. After the microprocessor, which apparently can do some logic instruction, we got a switch, we got a memory cell, which apparently can store information. We have a logic display. There's like a whole programming suite of buildings in here, which I currently have no idea how we're supposed to be using them. But this is definitely different from Eric here. There was nothing like that in there. We also have the thermal generator, which generates power when placed in hot locations. Well, considering I'm in the snow at the moment, I don't think it's going to do much here, but it makes me excited about the future. And that's about everything I can unlock for the moment, I think. I can still upgrade my base. I am actually going to do that, but that's going to take me a while. And this episode has already been a lot longer than I thought it would be, mostly because we've been doing so much research. I hope you enjoyed my fumbling through the massive research tree in Serpulo, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything other obvious. I seem to be missing quite a lot of things, but this is quite a bit of information for the third episode, or the third level, I should say, of a campaign. So, you know, don't be too harsh on me, please. If you're still here, you are awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.